So, when I first graduated college and got my first adult paycheck, I wanted to take the entire paycheck and spend it on myself. I wanted to walk into the Apple store and get the newest iPhone. I think at the time it was the iPhone 13. I wanted to get AirPods for my iPhone because everyone I knew had AirPods. Everyone at my gym had AirPods. Everyone in my classes had AirPods. And I also wanted to go into Zara. I wanted to go into H&M because I was wearing the same clothes for the past few years. But I realized that's probably not the best way to start building a wealthy life, especially because I had so much debt coming out of college. So in today's video, I want to go over the 4 strategies I use to pay off $60,529 of debt in only 458 days. So strategy number 1, find your why and remind yourself of it constantly. If you don't know why you're doing something, you're more likely to quit when things get hard. You need to find your why, and when you do, you're more likely to stick with your goals. You're going to stay disciplined. You're going to get to the end result. For me, my why was I wanted to start my own business one day. I wanted to save the seed money so I could start my business and get that freedom away from my 9 to 5. I wanted to live my life on my terms. And for you guys, your why might be different. Your why might be I want to start a family. I want to own a home. I want to move to a new city. I want to move to a new country. Whatever your why is, find it and remind yourself of it constantly. Keep it close to your heart. It's going to help you stay disciplined. So you're going to have things that come up, and if you find what your why is, you're going to be able to navigate those obstacles, stay disciplined, and get to the end result, which is paying off your debt. So strategy number 2, you need to understand how debt actually works. But before we can do that, you need to figure out what you actually owe money on first. So go ahead and open up the Notes app or get out a piece of paper and write down these 3 things. 1, write down the type of debt you have. 2, write down the amount you owe on that debt. And 3, write down the interest rate on that debt. So for me, I owed a total of $60,529 at a rate of 8% on a student loan. So I would write down student loan, $65,529, 8%. So let's say you have a student loan of $100,000. In year 1, if you decided to make no payments on your loan, you would owe a total of $110,000. And by the way, what you owe on a loan is called principal. So at the beginning of your loan, your principal was $100,000, but since you decided to make no payments on your loan, your principal is now $110,000 because you owed $100,000, you have an interest rate of 10%, you would multiply $100,000 by 10%, so you would owe about $10,000 of interest at the end of the year. So you would take your original loan balance, your original principal, add $10,000 of interest, and your new principal, what you owe, is $110,000. Now, in year 2, let's say you chose not to watch my videos and you didn't subscribe or hit the like button on this video, and you decided not to make any payments on your loan again. At the end of the year, you would owe $121,000. Let's say you did the same thing in year 3. You decided not to make any payments on your loan again. At the end of year 3, you would owe $133,100. Now, you might be noticing a trend. You can see that the amount you owe on the loan is increasing over time. And that's a principle we call compound interest. It's when you owe interest on your interest. It's kind of like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's kind of small. You don't notice it increasing in size. But after a while, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it's this giant snowball. It's like an avalanche. You can't stop. It's crushing everything in its path. So now that we know how debt actually works, we could go ahead and move on to strategy number 3, which is debt repayment options. There's 2 main debt repayment options. There's the debt avalanche method and the debt snowball method. Let's start with the debt snowball method. With the debt snowball method, you go ahead and pay off the debts with the highest interest rate first, regardless of principal balance. So let's say you have 3 loans. One that's $50,000, one that's $10,000, and one that's $20,000. The loan at $50,000 has an interest rate of 10%. The loan at $10,000 has an interest rate of 8%, and the loan of $20,000 has an interest rate of 6%. You would pay off the loan at 10% first, you would pay off the loan at 8% second, and you would pay off the loan of 6% third, even though the loan at 6% has a higher balance than the loan at 8%. And this is the most mathematically smart option to pay off your debt. It saves you more money in the long term. You're going to pay less on interest. So now let's discuss the debt avalanche method. With the debt avalanche method, you want to pay off the loans with the lowest principal balance first. So we would want to pay off the loan at $10,000, and then we want to pay off the loan at $20,000, and then we want to pay off the loan at $50,000. Now you might be saying, hey Raj, that's probably not the smartest way to do things because it's going to cost me more interest long term. And yes it is, but this methodology focuses on preparing you mentally. If you go ahead and pay off one of your loans, it's going to help you build momentum, kind of like that snowball, and you're going to gain the confidence to pay off your debt over time. So now that we know our why, we know how debt actually works, and we've picked a debt repayment method, I'm going to go ahead and reveal strategy number 4. Strategy number 4 is what's going to allow you to pay off your debt at the fastest rate possible. That is finding any unfair advantage you have. And what I mean by that is maybe you have the ability to live at home. Maybe you work at a fast food restaurant and you get free food, so you don't have to spend as much money on groceries. Maybe you have a job that ends at 2 p.m. Maybe you could get a second job because your hours are short at your first job and a lot of people can't get a second job. Maybe you don't have a spouse. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you could have 3 jobs. Whatever your unfair advantage is, you need to find it and use it to make more money so you could make more payments towards your principal and you could wipe out that debt as fast as possible. For me personally, my unfair advantage was living at home, and I know that's very, very unpopular, especially amongst a lot of the finance gurus here on YouTube, Dave Ramsey, but I'm not ashamed to say I lived at home. I saved money on rent. I saved money on groceries. And you know what it allowed me to do? It let me wipe out my principal balance. This was my first video on YouTube. I'm not sure if I did a good job or not, but if someone's watching at the end of this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could put a comment in the comment section below so I know I was able to at least help one person out there. I don't know exactly everything I'm going to make videos on down the road, but I'd appreciate it if you could leave me some feedback in the comments section, and I'd be happy to make a video on it. So until next time, peace.